Lowe's knows how to freshen up your yard, and it all starts with mulch. That's why we're introducing Mulch Week during SpringFest with can't miss savings. Right now, get 5 bags of Stay Green Premium Color 2 cubic foot mulch for only $10. Plus, members earn 5 times the points on select mulch purchases all week long. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/9. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Quiet Riot. Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Quiet Riot, where we're dedicating the entire show to Grin and Share It.
Good news is welcome to me. Bad news is hell come to me. Good news. Do-de-o-do-lo, 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 I want good news.
I'm Naomi.
And I'm Alex. Apologies if you were expecting the usual deep dive into political doom and gloom, because we're doing something a little different. In today's bonus episode, we shine a light on good news stories from around the world, because let's face it, we need a bit of a boost.
So sit back, relax and enjoy a rare moment where we actually get to say nice things about the state of the world. Quiet Riot. Alex, I thought we could chunk them up. So some good political news, breakthroughs in science and technology, social good, and throw in some animal and environmental stories to finish up. Does that sound okay to you?
Yeah, that sounds like a sensible way of doing it, because we do have a lot.
We do? All right, let's get started.
Right, so let's kick things off with something that proves politics isn't always a disaster. Naomi, what's got your eye?
Well, I've got actually good friend of the show and long-time listener, Arlene, to thank for this one.
Oh, is it coming?
No, it's not. It's not.
Come on.
No, she couldn't make it. But there's been some significant cross-party collaboration in Northern Ireland with the inaugural meeting of Intertrade UK in Enniskillen. So this initiative, stemming from the Safeguarding the Union command paper, is about enhancing and promoting trade across the UK constituent nations. And it is chaired by Baroness Foster of Achadramsey, and the panel comprises members from various political backgrounds, all united in their commitment to identifying and advising on opportunities to strengthen internal trade. So the different parties set aside their many and well-known differences to work together towards the common goal of economic prosperity and unity within the UK. And the Northern Ireland office says that Intertrade UK is going to be advising on opportunities to promote and boost trade across the UK, advising on overcoming identified barriers, considering how best business can take advantage of the full opportunities of the internal market, and conduct research and publish insights aimed at advocating domestic trade. So, look, they can all agree that we need to trade more, so it's a low-hanging fruit issue for them to come together on. But if anyone can find a reason not to come together, it is that lot. And for once, they are putting all of that aside and doing it.
And they're going to be busy if tariffs come in.
Indeedy.
Because it will need exactly this kind of, talking shop,
Exactly.
Basically. Do we get some sort of vox pop?
Hello, Quiet Riot listeners. This is Arlene Foster here. Actually, it would be Baroness Foster to you now. I just wanted to let you all know that the inaugural meeting of Intertrade UK took place on Friday in Enniskillen, and I'm chairing it. And I established this under the Safeguarding the Union command paper. Members have formally adopted my terms of reference. We have discussed and agreed a programme of work, and our key priorities to take forward over the next 18 months will focus entirely on removing trade barriers. So I'm very glad that I am heading this up and leading us all in the right direction. Quiet Riot.
Okay, so I've got one from Wales, which listeners may have missed. The Welsh Government has committed to introduce globally pioneering, so they say, legislation aimed at making lying in politics in Wales unlawful by next year, and asked the Senedd Standards of Conduct Committee to investigate the best way of doing it. and seeing how well Reform UK is doing in the polls there, this could be one to watch. So basically, I mean, don't imagine they will lock them up in a tower. But if a member is caught lying, the committee basically will have a range of measures available to it. They could ask them to retract the falsehood on the record. They could ask them to correct it. They could place it on the Senate website. They could also face suspension, and in extreme cases, even a sort of recall petition. They could be recalled and removed and replaced with someone else from the same party.
So Boris Johnson, if he were to return to politics, is highly unlikely to run in Wales.
I think there's a number of people that this would make highly unlikely to run in Wales.
Well, good on the nations of the UK, Northern Ireland and
Yeah,
Wales.
I mean, it really
Come
does
on, Scotland
seem
and
high
England.
time to have something like this on the books, right?
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the world of science, where good news is always bubbling away. Alex, what's your pick?
French turnstiles. I know, right?
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
So the first thing to say about this was that it was created by students in a sort of engineering school.
Yep.
And it was trialed for a few days in one metro station in Paris. So basically, you know the three-pronged turnstile thing that
To go into the metro.
Yeah, that you turn to go into the metro. And many tube stations here, I mean, before they had the
barriers,
they had those three-pronged things that turned. Most football grounds still have them. So basically, that is attached to a sort of turbine inside the pillar that holds the turnstile with some resistance. And every time you push it to turn it, it turns a series of cogs that basically winds it up and creates kinetic energy that is stored. And the over 20,000 passengers who passed each of those 2 days that they trialed it generated 2,000 kilowatts of energy per day. Now, if you scale this up, the 4.5 million passengers of the Paris metro could generate 136 megawatts per year, which is enough to power 64,000 homes and save 30,000 tons of carbon. Just from the thing that you have, the effort that you have to do.
And the thing is a mechanical thing, so it's not even using energy to do it, whereas we've replaced all of our mechanical ones with
ones that use energy.
We're actually going net negative while they're going net positive. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's going on in a lot of places. But like I said, it looks really, really hopeful. And, you know, I can think of dozens of applications where we do things that require basically physical action by us, where you could store that kinetic energy. So it could really open a huge door to a lot of stuff that saves energy.
Très bien. J'adore ça pour les Français. That is fantastic news indeed. An insert joke here about harnessing the hot air produced by podcasters and politicians. I found a delightful story from Ukraine. And my God, they need some cheer. Because since Russia first invaded Ukraine in 2023, millions have been displaced from their homes. Buildings destroyed, an estimated 3.6 million people still internally displaced from their permanent residence. Keeping them safe and housed has become a very major challenge for the Ukrainian government. Enter Australia-based non-profit Mobile Crisis Construction, MCC, and they have stepped in to help rebuild with things they call Lego, which looks a lot like giant Lego. Using a little bit of clay, cement and water and waiting a couple of days to cure, the blocks can then be used to rapidly build shelter and critical infrastructure. And a single Lego machine can make up to 8,000 bricks a day, producing enough to construct the exterior structure of 10 homes every 3 days. MCC says the bricks are earthquake, fire and cyclone resistant, and includes slots to help reinforce the structures during construction. So, you know, where there could be fire during that time, they would survive. And so, like, the interlocking shape of the bricks makes them really easy to stack together. Probably not quite as easy as Lego, although some Lego is quite difficult. So one of their mobile factories is set up in a shipping container outside of Kyiv with a really small generator to run operations so that when the power grid goes down, they can keep doing it. And because they're quite easy to put together, it's unskilled labour. You're not having to wait to train people up to do proper bricklaying, to put the walls together. Very limited training required. So we'll drop a link in the show notes to that as well, because I thought that was a really lovely story.
Why are we not doing this everywhere like right now? It sounds amazing.
Well, and look, Myanmar and Bangkok and places like that will hopefully be able to benefit.
Oh, terrific. I mean, it's always fantastic when science delivers something that directly improves people's lives. So, listeners, more of this, please send them our way.
Now let's talk about people being wonderful, amazing individuals, because despite everything, humans really are superb.
Okay, I'm going to start off with an honourable nod to the good folk at Pan Macmillan Publishers.
Go on.
Russell Brand has been sued for £220,000.
By Pan Macmillan.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is more of a Schadenfreude rather than Grin.
Do not underestimate Schadenfreude.
I know. So, so basically, he'd signed a deal to advance, and I quote here, 2 original literary works of nonfiction.
More for them.
So what happened was that then he was outed as a generally ghastly shit. He had already sort of submitted one, which was never published because the whole story was at its height then. And then, according to the publisher, he just didn't even engage with them about the other one.
Having taken the advance.
Right. Having taken the advance.
Contract.
And just expect them to eat the loss, I guess. And they might have, except they decided not to. So they are actually taking, I mean, it's a huge publishing house. They could probably have swallowed it. But I suspect there's a matter of principle here.
And precedent.
And precedent and good press.
Yeah.
So they're taking him to court for their money.
I love that for him.
Yep.
I love that for him.
He's going to have to do a lot of YouTube videos and baptizing to make that.
Well, my good news human story comes all the way from Idaho. And I won't lie, it made me tear up.
Is it also about Russell Brand? Because he's somewhere around there.
It's mercifully not. Get your tissues at the ready, though. This is the owner of the last video store in Idaho, in a small town. And
there's still a video store in Idaho.
Yeah, but they are, no way, it's sad, but sweet and lovely. They're keeping a small section open for a customer with Down syndrome. For Christina Kavanagh, who has Down syndrome and is mostly non-verbal, going to the video rental store every day has been a vital part of her routine for 15 years. At Video Stop, the last video rental store in Pocatello, Idaho, new employees are even trained so that Christina can provide her account information and rent movies independently. And when the store was set to close down, Christina's mum was really very worried about this and wasn't sure what was going to happen. But she didn't have to worry for very long because the owner of Video Stop moved a collection of movies to what is being called Christina's Corner in K&B Quick Stop location next door, so that Christina could continue feeling supported in her routine. So she still gets to go in every day.
Oh, that's
and
really
it just
lovely.
really touched my heart, that one.
Oh, that's really lovely. Now, back in Blighty, next up is a story about patriotic millionaires, who are a group of rich folks, some of whom you'll have heard of, like Brian Eno and Richard Curtis, plus plenty you won't have, who want to pay more taxes.
Good on them.
And they're not afraid to push the government on wealth taxes. So they've commissioned a fleet of mobile billboards to tour towns and cities across the country and tell people and constituency MPs a tax of 2% on wealth above 10 million could raise 460 million a week for our country's crumbling finances. And this single tax reform would affect only 20,000 people, 0.04% of the British population. So Phil White, a member of Patriotic Millionaires UK, said, "We all want a vibrant, strong and healthy country, one that ensures our own people and those of our allies from Ukraine to Kenya can enjoy the benefits of a just society. There's plenty of money in the UK, but it's stuck in the hands of the wealthiest. And while they get richer, everyone else gets poorer." Can we talk about this one a bit?
Please, yeah.
Because I think it is great news and I think it's wonderful, but I also have some ambivalence about it. Can you have an ethical, super rich person? It's prejudice, for sure. I fully accept that, in that I haven't done any work on it. I haven't seen any data on it. But something in me feels that to make Uber money, you have to do some shady stuff at some point, right? You have to step on some throats at some point. And so I have a deeply ingrained distrust of very rich people. I just think
some of them may have been born with it. It may have been inherited wealth. I know quite a few of the people who are on the UK Patriotic Millionaire list, and almost none of them, and certainly none of the ones I know, don't also give away extraordinary amounts of their wealth. And they're often not the super, super, super rich. They're just the super rich. And they give away a larger chunk of the proportion of their wealth than the billionaires do of theirs, without question. And I think most of them are incredibly philanthropic. You can certainly have some wealthy people who are less evil and awful than others. And I think this is a wonderful, good news story. And I'm really, really glad you highlighted it. More of them.
Yeah, more of them. And, but also you could look at the sort of Bill and Melinda Gates paradigm. They don't wait for government to tell them to give it up. They made a commitment to just give 90% of their fortune to their
this
foundation.
Is them telling the government. The government's not telling this lot anything.
Yeah. So, No, I'm just saying it surprises me that they're asking for government to do it, but I guess it is a matter of fairness. They want it to apply to everyone, especially people who are even richer than they are.
Indeed.
Quiet Riot. When you think about super successful businesses that are selling through the roof, like Heinz or Mattel, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But there's a secret. The business behind the business, making selling simple for them and buying simple for their customers. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout as Heinz and Mattel. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/promo, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/promo to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/promo.
Get ready for Netflix's gripping new medical drama, Pulse. Set in a cutting-edge Miami trauma center, third-year resident Dr. Danny Sims is unexpectedly thrust into a promotion when beloved chief resident Dr. Xander Phillips gets suspended. Then, with the emotional and physical stakes at their highest, a storm will push the hospital and its residents to their limits. Witness how life can change in a heartbeat when you're operating under pressure. Watch Pulse, only on Netflix.
Quiet Riot.
Now, let's move on to our final section of good news stories about animals and the environment. And I'm going to begin with a very good bit of news about solar. Okay. So this is all about what is described as the miracle material, perovskite, which would merit a Grin and share it of its own. Do look it up. It's genuinely an innovative molecular composition of a thing that allows it to do stuff that is basically pushing at the limits of physics.
Okay.
So combining that with organic solar cells, scientists were able to achieve an efficiency close to that of commercial solar cells. The difference is this is transparent. It is completely clear.
Wow.
So they are little panels
That you can barely see.
that look completely glass. They look like glass.
Incredible.
And that means, this was made by an international team from the City Solar Project. It's a massive
How does that
boost.
work? Because it's got to be dark to attract heat and light.
And yet, there it is.
So it doesn't just bounce straight back
No.
off it. Incredible.
And so what you're looking at with that is, all those glass skyscrapers, all those things that not only could be huge collectors of solar energy, but also because they jut above the city skyline, they're sort of
Closer to the sun.
no, but they're also exposed to much more sunlight than any street, right?
Right.
And so you are looking at a huge, huge boost and a massive amount of other applications as well. Like, everything from cars to homes. Your
Airplanes.
windows could be gathering solar energy without... I just think it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary.
It is.
It's almost science fiction.
And is so unlikely to have the level of resistance from the aesthetic brigade that do participate in blocking planning.
I mean, they wouldn't even know the difference.
They wouldn't even know.
They wouldn't even know the difference. And combine that with a little story submitted by a listener, Ant Brown, about how merely angling solar panels better can boost solar power generation hugely. So it's just by adjusting the angle. And again, there is another innovation that I was looking at where you use AI, and because a lot of those systems are now remotely controlled, to keep adjusting the angle as the year basically moves.
As wind turbines already do.
Both during a day, but also seasonally, to always be facing in the optimal direction and always be soaking up the maximum amount of solar energy. I mean, it's a really exciting area, I think.
Sunshine for the soul. Yeah. Well, I've got a couple of good old-fashioned animal stories.
They are a little bit like you, I have to say.
I always turn towards the sun.
You have a unique ability to kind of angle yourself towards the sun.
I do.
Wherever you are.
I am famous for that. So I've got a couple of good old-fashioned animal stories. First up is the story brought to our attention by listener Joe the Bewildered about an undersea rewilding initiative to restore a kelp forest in West Sussex. It's had amazing results for marine biodiversity. So a new bylaw prohibiting trawling in a 117 square mile coastal area between Shoreham-on-Sea and Selsey in March 2021 has now led to a tremendous increase in the population of lobsters, of brown crab, angel shark, and short-snouted seahorses. How lovely is that? We always talk about rewilding in terms of onshore, and now we're doing it
I have
offshore.
to say that for the first half of that sentence, I was imagining them on a dinner plate. I'm sorry.
Oh, listeners, he absolutely loves
seafood.
sea urchin butter.
I love seafood. I love seafood of every kind. Anyway, so this is sea kelp.
Yep, sea kelp forest, and it is now being rewilded. You can't fish and trawl there, which is allowing all of that kelp to come back, and with it, the amazingness of the diversity of sea creature life
Fabulous.
in and around it. So wonderful. And then back on shore, listener Carol D reminded us that the reintroduction of beavers is already helping restore...
I love a beaver.
I know you do. I love a beaver. I'm a big supporter of the Beaver Trust, by the way. Anyway, reintroduction of beavers is already helping to restore wetland and improve biodiversity, but also health. Because beaver ponds in agricultural landscapes can reduce E. coli concentrate by 95%.
What?
And that's according to a new study from Stirling University. And with river quality declining, demand for sustainable solutions is really taking off. and beavers are helping us to tackle pollution, all while keeping us healthier.
Wow, that's amazing. Good for the beavers and good for the sea kelp.
Indeed.
And good for the listeners who send us all these lovely stories. You see, we can only choose one each week for the main show, but I do squirrel them away.
Yeah, he does.
And maybe we'll make this kind of bonus a regular feature, so keep sending them in.
But that is all we have time for on this special edition of Grin and Share It. And I have to say, Alex, I feel oddly uplifted.
I know, it's very
Strange
unsettling.
feeling.
At first I mistook it for indigestion. Listeners, your cups now runneth over with good news. I hope you enjoyed this bonus episode, and if so, do make sure to back us at ko-fi.com/Quiet Riot Pod. You can do so for as little as £5 a month, and don't we deserve it?
And I promise we will be announcing our next on-live session with our listeners very soon. So sign up fast if you'd like to join in and ask us anything at all. And Alex is pushing me for a date, and it's my diary that's holding us back from having
and
put
I'm
that
reading. I can read the note you put next to the script on this one. My diary is insane.
in all caps.
And if that's not for you, fear not. You can help us in other ways, such as heading over to our bookshop, subscribing or following wherever you get your podcasts, leaving us a review, leaving us a rating, telling a friend to tune in. Everything helps.
We'll be back next week with the usual mix of sharp analysis and probably a lot more political exasperation. But until then,
sure.
Take this moment to remember that good things do happen.
They do. And if you've got a good news story of your own, send us a blue sky or email it in quietriotpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear it.
Thanks for listening. And remember, even in the darkest of times, there's always something to grin and share.
We love you lots. Bye.
Bye.
Quiet Riot is an audio production by Cooler Heads with Naomi Smith, Alex Andreou, and produced by Kenny Campbell. Music by Mariana Sangeeta, artwork by Simona Canelu, and edited by me, Alex Reese. Quiet Riot is a co-production with Sandstone Global.
Quiet Riot.
This weekend, only at Macy's, it's our lowest prices of spring. How low? Diamond rings, pendants, and earrings, only $399, originally $1,500. Ninja blenders, now $89.99. And $395 men's designer suits, only $99.99. So if you're wondering why you should shop Macy's lowest prices sale, well, the name pretty much says it all. It's our lowest prices for one weekend only. Starts tomorrow at Macy's. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.